La Vuelta Stage 5, the first uphill showdown between Vollering and Van Vleuten in a stage race this season. Could not wait. Vos went into the stage 25 seconds ahead of Dygert after winning her second stage in a row in a reduced bunch sprint yesterday. Dygert had a late attack that didn't stick. And so on to stage 5, we have a 4K uphill finish. But first, there was an 11K 6% test, a real grind that put some fatigue in the legs and actually put some riders off the back, including race leader Marianne Vos, dropped by 3 minutes. I believe Liana Lippert from Movistar was dropped as well. Riders came back like Niewiadoma, but Van Vleuten and Vollering didn't have many teammates in this group. There's only Fisher Black and Reusser, I think, for SD Works, and they're not going to pace. And then Van Vleuten's got nobody just about because the rest of her team is behind, either dropped and chasing for Liana Lippert. And so DSM got Lebu in the group. They pushed a little bit. It was curious to see Riolini closing gaps on the flat. You'd think she'd be conserving energy before the uphill final, for which she is very suited to. And here's the Movistar train chasing. But that gap did go 3 minutes to 1:30 to under a minute running into the final, probably because Vollering, like SD Works didn't pace, Dygert didn't pace too much, like Canyon SRAM, they kind of just kept it rolling everybody through. No one was just like ripping the gap open because like Vollering's not too worried about Lippert. But here, Mavi Garcia comes across Fisher Black whilst Vollering's doing the handoff of a bidon to Fisher Black, and Neve Fisher Black overlaps her front wheel, or Garcia comes across and cuts her and chops her a little bit and stops. Fisher Black goes down. That would change the final of this race a lot because she wouldn't make it back, Fisher Black, because she was going to be the premium mountain domestique for Vollering. She was going to set it up. Santesteban went down, but she was in the cars and she was able to come back, whereas a barrage was set up for Fisher Black, and she ain't closing this gap on the flat with Dygert now pacing without the help of the cars. So, aggressive use of the barrage, I guess. The group of Vos now, the gap stable at 1:30, and Vollering, apart from, I think, Reusser in the front group, who's not a pure climber, a little bit isolated. Canyon SRAM did start to push on a few rollers into the base of the climb, and Reusser just keeping it under control, probably hoping at this point that the group behind came back so Fisher Black could set a nuclear pace on this 4.8k climb for Demi Vollering, who now have to do it all herself or hope that somebody else would set a fierce pace because she's one of, at worst, the best two climbers in this group, and that was Gaia Riolini pacing initially. Now, she's not a dark horse anymore. We know how good she is, but she appears to be riding for Spratt. Even though, based on her feet, based on the other numbers, Riolini looks like the better pure climber to me than Spratt at the moment. And Spratt shakes her head, so maybe she didn't want her to go forward and set a nuclear pace. And Vos is now at 30 seconds with this climb being 1.3 k's in. Marcus was just at the front, not pacing, kind of blocking, setting a false tempo. And then Riolini comes back to the front, and here the race gets shredded. Faulkner dropped, Dygert starting to get put under pressure at the back, Reusser under pressure too, and this group gets thinned out. Vollering then says, thank you very much. 10 seconds has been put into Fisher Black, who'd been pacing very hard behind, as Van Vleuten pushes Marcus and says, excuse me, I see Riolini and Vollering moving. I need to move up. But Riolini comes over the top of Vollering and says, that ain't quick enough. Muzic there for FDJ, Lebu for DSM, as well as Bauerfeind for Canyon SRAM, 23-year-old German. Spratz dropped. The UAE riders under pressure and getting gap 2. And now it's like, what can Vollering do? Because she's got Van Vleuten on the wheel. And yeah, okay, she did beat Van Vleuten in flesh. She was the queen of the Ardennes, Demi Vollering. But this is a stage race. These are longer climbs. These are where, even when Van Vleuten hasn't had the best spring, she has been superior and no one can even come close to her. This isn't the longest climb, I grant you that, but it's longer than some of those Ardennes, or all those Ardennes climbs. But through this little ramp pass section, Vollering's got Van Vleuten under a lot of pressure here. And I would think she almost could have dropped her if it was steeper, but she was just riding on the Vanderbrecher sort of TT style, a very steady pace, but then stops. At about a K to go, she decides, okay, group of 3, Bauerfeind, Riolini and Muzic can come back, or Riolini nearly comes back, but then Vollering starts setting tempo again, and then you see with 500 to go, it kicks up over that probably a cattle grid they've covered up, and AVV tries to hit Vollering with longer from 400 meters to go, and Vollering just responds on the saddle. And this is kind of like on Murderwee, looking calm in the saddle, both her and Poggy, without even having to get out of the saddle to react, you know what's probably going to happen next. And maybe ABV cost herself time by attacking there, because when Vollering really kicks now with 300 to go over the top, immediately gets a gap to Van Vleuten, foreshortened here. Muzic gone, Riolini loses 27 seconds in the last kilometer, and Annemiek van Vleuten is dropped off the wheel, but only loses 3 seconds before Covadonga this weekend. Vollering, reigning supreme, takes the stage on Mirador de Peñas Llanas, and I cannot wait for this weekend's mountaintop finish, because it's only a 3-second gap on the stage, and on GC it's 5 seconds because of the other bonuses Annemiek van Vleuten's picked up along the way. Here's what Vollering had to say after the stage.
We saw you attacking in the last 2 kilometers. Was that plan?
Yeah, I thought I'd just go my own pace now, because I know I can keep a hard pace for a long time, and then I hope to drop as many as possible as soon as possible. And I think in the end, I don't know exactly, but then still on the Meek, we were still at 3 or something, and then yeah, they tried, Annemiek tried to come over me, and then I was like, okay, now's the time to give it my all. And first I thought, ooh, this is maybe a bit too early, because it was still a long way, and but in the end it was luckily enough.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the video. The Giro may be starting tomorrow, but I would recommend to you very strongly to watch Stage 7 of this La Vuelta Femenina on Sunday. It is going to be a good showdown. Till then, ciao.